Hello. Today we're going to be doing my first review on this channel. Just a couple of things. People are worried about me after my crash. I'm alright. Pretty bruised around here. Smashed my teeth in, but I'm alright. Live to fight another day. My read and ride series might be on hold for a while until I get permission to go back on my bike again. I might have to earn a few brownie points before I'm allowed to do that. But anyway, nobody got hurt in the filming of my last series. So what we're going to do today, we're going to look at Harry Potter. Okay, I've been listening to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone about a month ago, and I've just finished, last night I finished Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So I thought I'd roll those two books into two reviews, but do them fairly quickly, because a lot of the things that I liked were in both books. A lot of the things I disliked were in both books, and the progression of the story, I think I can do it in one review a little bit quicker than just telling you the same thing over and over and over. So let's start then. So the first one, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or if you're in America, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. There's the first thing off the bat. So why has it got a different name in America? Also, you've got a baseball bat in Quidditch. Don't think we have a baseball bat in the UK. So I've just been reading up on that a little bit actually, and J.K. Rowling said, as it was her first book, she didn't really want to change the title for America, but the Americans said kids are more likely to read a book with Sorcerer in the title than Philosopher in the title. But then J.K. Rowling said, but the Philosopher's Stone is technically a real thing in legend, and she didn't want to change it, but she sort of got bullied into it. Which I get, because I'm a self-published author. Room 119 is a script. It's going off to, there's a few directors reading it, thinking about it being a film, and one of the problems that I've got is how many things I've had to let go out of the script, out of the book, sorry, when we wrote the script. We wrote the script together, but you just can't fit it all in, so things had to go, and I had to sanction them, and some things I fought for and just refused, and other things I thought, well, you know what, we can do without that character, we'll have to live without it. So I get her point. It was her first published book, so she didn't have the power to say no, really. She regrets that from now on, and apparently the film came out with a different name as well, which caused problems because people think there's two different things going on and there's not. Anyway, let's get back to the book then. I've made a few notes. So Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, depending on where you were when you read it. So the first thing, the setup then, I quite liked how it was set up, how it developed. I quite like the beginning of the book where, you know, Hagrid turns up and drops a baby on a doorstep. This is going to be fairly spoiler free, but everybody's read it but me, so I don't know who I'm doing that for. So I will probably mention a few more things than I would normally in another review if I do a review of a newer book. Yeah, I quite like the setup of all that. I got the bit with the Dursleys where they bullied him and had a go at him. I wouldn't have thought they would have done, to be honest. I didn't think he did enough wrong to warrant that, and I don't think also the fact that he was a relative would mean that they would treat him that way. I just thought that was a bit off, but I get it because it was part of the story. But even though it's part of the story, sometimes you need a reason for that to happen. So if he's not a nasty boy, why would you do that? It just seemed a little bit out of balance, but there we go. That's what it was, and he needed to live in the broom cupboard, didn't he, under the stairs, however. So that progressed quite well, and then you got the annoying part of it with the Dursleys' dad having a go all the time, and all of the letters when he was going to go to Hogwarts. So yeah, okay, read all that. One thing I did notice off the bat, and I'll say this about both books, is that having written some books myself, I was very conscious when I was writing books not to say he said this and she said that, he said this knowingly, she said that gracefully, and all this stuff. So you're just saying said and a word after it to give it some credence. For me, I would have thought if I did that, I would have got called out for being a bad writer, I would have thought. I did get corrected on Twitter, I've mentioned this a couple of times. Because it's written for kids, maybe that's allowed. But this happened in both books now. I've been told in The Prisoner of Azkaban this is meant to correct itself a little bit, and also the writing style grows. Well, I hope it does, because there was a section in the second book. As I said, I'm sort of reviewing these together. I'll tell you bits about the story of both. But there's a bit in the second book, I was listening to this on Audible with Stephen Fry, who's excellent by the way, and there was a piece, I was driving to golf the other day listening to the car, and there was a piece which was, I reckon it was about 6 or maybe 7 or 8 pieces of dialogue back to back which did this, and it was just too much. To the point when I was listening to it, someone would say something and I would say said, and I would try and guess the word that was said moodily or said so and so. But the word said must be used in that book more than any other book. In that book more than any other word. If you were to get a copy of that and search words that are high on the heat map, if you like, of words, it would be said. Because said is said a lot, and I've said more in this video than I've said in any other video. There you go. Hopefully it'll get better, but that's my gripe. I felt like I was reading Peter and Jane from school. Anyway, apart from that, it's a superb story, so that's what carries it off, and that's what lets you get away with that, and hopefully it will grow, and then that means the books will grow on me. So moving on then, we've done the Dursleys, they were getting on my nerves a little bit, but we got there. And then we get to King's Cross Station, don't we? And that's where the story begins. A bit like in Room 119, everyone says the story doesn't begin. I've said that, my bath's the story doesn't begin until you get to the top of the cliff. You won't have a clue what you're talking about if you haven't read Room 119, we'll go read it. Shameless plug. Did you get that? Book fell on my toe. Okay, so King's Cross Station, that's where we're at. That's where the magic starts to happen. Really enjoyed that. One thing that I'm not going to stop saying annoyed me. One thing that I found a bit strange was in the book. You know when people say the book's different to the film? Well, I haven't read many books, so I haven't got many experiences of seeing both. I haven't seen the film for a long time, but I did watch it with my daughter Annie years ago. I watched a few of them. I don't think I've watched all of them. And I can distinctly remember in the film them going through a wall at King's Cross Station, right? I know King's Cross Station. I work in London an awful lot. I live in the north of England, but I do. My station that I have to go to get up north is King's Cross Station. So I go past the platform 9 3/4 or whatever it's called, where they've got a wall and they've got a carriage halfway through it and people queue for hours to get the pictures taken there, which is fine. But in the book it's a barrier, it's not even a wall. So in the film it's a wall in between the two carriages, and I think it was filmed at King's Cross. Obviously at the station they put it on a wall to follow the film, but the actual book says it was a barrier, and a barrier in the UK is something completely different to a wall. So it's quite nice that for the first time probably in my life, and you'll have had this a lot, the book and the film have come to loggerheads. I know Connor does a piece, I mention him on all my videos. I'm going to have to, it seems like I'm his #1 fan, but he does a great thing if you want to look his videos up of was it in the film, was it in the book, or was it in both? And I feel like I don't feel I'm worthy enough because I haven't watched the film for a long time, but I might actually be able to join that now. But this is a great series where you decide which is which. Well, I would have said that everything would have been through a wall, and it obviously wasn't. But there we go. You live and learn, don't you? And that's where the book explains more as well, doesn't it, from the film? So I might have to watch the film again to realise how much is missed, because like I mentioned, Room 119's in the middle of this process. It would be quite interesting to see, I know what I've had to take out, it would be quite interesting to see what has been taken out of the book that just got dropped, and then what was left in or what was put in the film that wasn't even in the book. I might have to go do that and maybe do another video on it. So anyway, we get into Hogwarts. Quite like all the pictures moving, them little cards on the train. I quite like they all think he's a superhero because of his scar, and he's quite famous in the wizarding world. They get all the way to Hogwarts, and then I really enjoyed it. I like the character development. I like Ron. I think Stephen Fry narrates the book very much in the way of the film. So for instance, Hagrid has got this very southern Cornwall type accent going on. So when you're listening to it, because the characters are developed and so well known, you're picturing them exactly like they are in the film. I'm sure if it was a different book which hadn't been made into a film, you'd have to make all that up yourself. So we were given a lot before it starts, to be honest. But Hagrid, straight away you're seeing Coltrane, some Jimmy Coltrane? Robbie Coltrane. So it's Robbie Coltrane, isn't it? You can just see it's him, can't you? Harry Potter straight away. Ron Weasley, he does the voice superb for him, just like Ron does. Very moany. He sort of nails that. So Stephen Fry's superb. Hermione Granger, I like at the beginning in the first book because she's so swotty. I do think that if we're talking about both books here, she sort of loses that swottiness a bit too early for me, because She goes from swat, don't want to break any rules, to an anarchist. And there's no character arc, it's more, oh no, we can't do that, let's break every rule in the book. So it's a bit like she's just started taking drugs and then once she's in, she's hooked, so she just breaks every rule in the world. I'm not saying Hermione Granger takes drugs, don't take drugs, kids, it's not good. Not that I know, but it's not good. Yeah, so I think she develops it, and in the second book she doesn't really do anything apart from sort of end up laying in hospital all the time. So it's a bit weird that, because you've got such a strong character who can have such an influence, and then she's sort of taken out the firing line for a while. I did really like as well the end of the book where they've developed all these characters, developed the teachers, developed this myth of the Voldemort, and I quite like the fact they had to go through all the teachers' tests to get to where they needed to get to. That appeals to me. The fact that it's not you've just got into where you need to be and there's the end. It's no, you've got to go through a series of tests to prove yourself. Really like that. And then I enjoyed the first book. I would reckon, because of the he said she said, knocked it down a mark. I think I would give it a 4-star rating. Okay, so that's 4 stars from me for the first book. Really enjoyed it. Haven't told too much about it, I'm just sort of skirting around the edges, but I've got 2 books to review. So well done to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's / Sorcerer's Stone. Okay, next one then, Harry Potter. I was calling this Harry Potter and whatever the second book is called. You've probably seen my rant on the previous video. If you haven't, please subscribe now, by the way, if you've got to this point. I know a lot of people only watch about 3.5 minutes of my videos. I'm probably about 8 minutes in, so I've lost that opportunity of saying subscribe, so I might have to do a bit of clever editing there. So please subscribe, hit the like button, make a comment, come and talk to me. I am here, I'm a real person, so give me a shout. Yes, so Harry Potter and whatever the second book is called, or the Chamber of Secrets. On that previous video I've just told you to go watch, you've probably seen me ranting on about this. This is the book I was listening to when I was cycling, and also when I was going to golf and all sorts, and also when I had my crash, although I had to take my headboards off by that point, put them in my back pocket, so it wasn't their fault, it was me just being a bit stupid looking at how many miles I'd done, and bang, go watch that crash as well. That's in another video. I did a reconstruction of that, but I'm not dead. Alright, so moving on, stop waffling on, Trevor. So Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets really annoyed me. The he said she said got on my nerves. More than the he said she said stuff getting on my nerves was 2.5 hours in, we're still at the Dursleys, bored to bits, and it just didn't grab me. That part of the book is a little bit like, do you really want all the domestic crap going on in his life? Just give us a bit of that, then we'll get it, and then let's just move on. So I reckon 1/4 of the book, possibly 1/3 of the book before we even get to Hogwarts. Well, that's a mistake in my opinion. They did turn up in the car and they flew off to the Weasleys. That was a bit of fun, but the troll throwing out the garden wasn't necessary. That was a waste of time. It just really got me down. And then when we got to the Weasleys, even though I liked them, the mother then started being a bit of an arse as well, so she started just telling everyone off apart from Harry. And it just seemed like it was just like parents telling kids off for about 3.5 hours in a different way for different reasons. And it really was getting to me. I'm thinking, if you don't start doing some magic soon, it will be a DNF. It was very nearly a DNF. It got to that point. Luckily, we then eventually get to Hogwarts again, and to be honest, the book starts there, but I'm talking 1/3, possibly more than 1/3 of the way through, of me having to endure the rest of that. I know a lot of people agree with me on this, but please let me know what you think. I was struggling to the point on audiobook you can daydream a little bit, so I'm sat there listening to it in the car, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, I'm not even thinking about that, I'm thinking about work. So I probably missed bits because it didn't grab me, and I was really struggling with it, to be honest. Then we got to Hogwarts, and then it started picking up slowly. And to be honest, the diary bit, and again, it's not really spoiler free because everyone's read it, but that was quite good, quite enjoyed that. And then the story progressed a little bit. It had some big plot holes for me. Who am I to tell J.K. Rowling, but I did think it did have some plot holes. Hermione not being in it hardly when she's such a good character. And then when she was in it, she's then in hospital for ages, and then when she came out of hospital, she didn't do anything. So I just think that was a little bit of a waste. I see why. I did quite like the ghost in the toilet. I thought that was an okay character, a bit moany, but that's the whole idea. Tom Riddle idea with his diary, really like that, but I've got a problem with it, which I'll tell you in a minute. And then the plot hole, right? There's spiders. So we have a big massive spider that has got loads of kids. Hagrid looked after it. He didn't shut the chamber, open the Chamber of Secrets years ago. So this big spider, he looked after it because he likes stuff like that. Fair enough. We find out that Hagrid got blamed for opening the Chamber of Secrets earlier. He gets off to Azkaban. Then they go follow the spiders. They end up in this big spider's place. Agra, whatever he's called, I don't know his name. And where I got a little bit annoyed here, Hagrid even found me a wife. Well, that's a bit convenient, isn't it? So you can have all the kids. But did he really? Did he go out and find you a wife because there's none? You were from this chicken egg or something, and no, that was the snake. Anyway, he looked after you from when you were young, and he went and found. Where did he find that? Where did he find another one of you? Like, but so they had to have that for all the kids. And then he said, this spider goes, well, the thing is, we're more scared of this thing, this monster, than any other thing in the world. And you're thinking, right, so you're more scared of this monster. And then Hagrid goes, follow the spiders, and the spiders are always running away. Well, what were the spiders doing there in the first place? Because they don't live in the castle, but they're always running away from this thing, right? So the thing is, you've got the spiders who live in the forest and don't have nothing to do with the castle, but they go to the castle just to get scared by the snake, even though they don't have to. So there's no reason for that, so that's rubbish. And then on top of that, you've then got, us spiders are more scared of this than any other thing in the world. Well, there's no evidence of that, was there? There's no evidence whatsoever of this big snake thing attacking spiders. No, none. So the whole of that spider episode was just to get Hagrid out the way and get Harry to get some information off this spider, even though it wasn't really relevant because they're not even scared of this thing because their paths never cross. So all of that was just a way of getting a bit of information out and bringing the car back into it, I suppose. So not very happy with that because it wasn't till afterwards I'm thinking, look, that just isn't connected. It doesn't connect. You know, them things are not relevant to each other. They're just made-uppy, right? And if this spider lived on its own and Hagrid looked after it, how would it know, right? And you could say, well, it just knows because, you know, it remembers things from all its family. It hasn't got any family. It's there on its own. So how does it know that race are scared of this snake thing when it's never met it? And where does it? Okay, second rant is about the anagram, Tom Riddle and the anagram. I put an anagram in my second book, Funicular, but I give the reader all the pieces and I give you the opportunity of working it out. So I would have thought, with me doing that and then not revealing the anagram for a chapter later, I'm giving you the opportunity to stop and go, do you know, I'm going to try and work this out. I'm in the journey with the detective, let's get it. Well, you didn't have a chance with this one because obviously Tom Riddle is part of the anagram, but then he just lobs in the middle name, doesn't he? Was it Movel? It's not on Bill and Ben, hang on, I just googled it. So, where is it? Marvolo. So Tom Marvolo Riddle. So conveniently he was called Tom Riddle, but to Muggle parents. So he thought, no, I'm going to give myself a middle name so I can be, I am Lord Voldemort. So when he was 16 he decided, I'm going to give myself this middle name and call myself Voldemort and just make something up out the rest of my name. No, I'm not having that. Okay, so he's not called Lord Voldemort, so he's really called Tom Riddle. They did sort of mention that Voldemort was a name in the past, but it's just a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? And don't like coincidences. So yes, it's convenient for the story, and yes, it makes you go, oh my god. But if we knew earlier on he was called Tom Marvolo Riddle, if it was written in his diary, then I'm okay with it because it gives the reader a chance of working that out. I bet the book community is wishing that they never introduced, oh well, you didn't introduce me, you hope I never found this book community, because I love BookTube, I love watching all of your stuff. All I seem to do is have a moan about stuff, and I didn't used to do that before I read. You know, I'm the reluctant reader because I don't read. I didn't used to have a go at stuff, but this is really getting on my nerves. Got to stop doing it. But I did enjoy it. Okay, so let's move on. So Lockhart, loved him, great character. So let's look at the characters again. Ron just progressed even more. Harry became a lot braver than I thought he was. From the films, I can remember him being a bit, and maybe it's just Daniel Radcliffe, maybe just his character seemed a little bit cheesy and a little bit like he didn't want to do anything, and he didn't seem to have any bravery in him. You know, if you were at school and you bumped into him, you just think, well, you know, pick him last in football. You know, and he wouldn't be any good at Quidditch in my eyes. He just looks a right dork, doesn't he? Which is fine. In the book, he's very brave, isn't he? Because he goes and attacks this snake at the end, and he goes on his own, and he goes because of Ginny Weasley. I think he marries her in the end, doesn't he? I think he does. Anyway, so he puts himself out there, doesn't he? And I always remember him hiding behind Ron and Hermione and just being a bit of a dork. Whereas I was quite proud of him. I was thinking, go Harry, go solve it yourself. And he was quite brave. And he stood up to Lockhart as well, didn't he? So I liked the fact he was braver than I thought he was in the film. I thought they portrayed him as a bit of a weak link who accidentally sorted things out. I think he was a lot better and a lot more, it seemed a lot more progressive, and how he did things seemed to be his thoughts, not following. I think he follows a lot in what I remember of the films, where it seems to be he's going, no, we need to do this. He's a little bit more of a leader, whereas in the first two films, definitely, I'm sure he's more of a, oh well, okay, let's do that if that's what you think. So the Tom Riddle thing annoyed me. The snake annoyed me because it's the most formidable animal in the world, and a phoenix disarmed it in about 20 seconds. You know, so it's not, is it? If anything is the most formidable animal in the world, then it must be the phoenix, because it disarmed the most formidable animal in the world in about 2 seconds. Did quite like that bit though. I thought it all sort of. He was sent a couple of things. He started to work out what to do. The Voldemort, he's tell you what, he's rubbish, isn't he? He's meant to be Lord Voldemort, the best thing since sliced bread. Well, I'll tell you what, first book he was useless, didn't really do anything, and yes, I know he's lost all his power. The second one, he stood there with Tom Riddle going, oh, now you're going to die, I'm going to watch you die, it's going to be hilarious watching you die, look at me, Harry Potter, watching you die. Instead of killing him, he's going, no, I'd rather watch you die. And then the phoenix starts crying and he goes, oh, and this is a quote from the film, right? He then said, this is the best bad wizard in the world, a bit like Darth Vader, and Darth Vader has flaws, doesn't he? He's a bit useless sometimes. But Lord Voldemort then goes, as Tom Riddle, he goes, oh yeah, I forgot that phoenixes could heal your mortal wounds. What, you just forgot? You're not really good then, are you? I mean, as a baddie, allowing that to happen is quite bad, you know. You're not very good. So I don't hold up much chance of him in the next 4 or 5 books to win, because he's a bit useless. He's a bit of a bumbling idiot, isn't he? I'm sure it's not meant to come across like that, but to me, I'm thinking, well, I just forgot about that Phoenix thing. Look, you're meant to be. You've been to school, haven't you? Yeah. You were the best kid at school. You were head boy. You've then become this dark arts genius, and you just forgot. Well done. Yeah, well done for forgetting that. Anyway, so that's where we're at. That was the second one, so Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I would have given the end of the book a 5 actually. I thought it really built up and it got to this crescendo, and at the end I was listening to it going, and I listened to the last couple of hours and I couldn't stop, and I was like, oh my god, what's going to happen? So it did get me involved, but the beginning was too bad. So all in all, books and barbells, we don't do halves here. She did that with my book. We don't do halves. It's a 3. It would be a 3.5. But we don't do halves. So it's a 3, so I'm hoping it picks up after this, and I've been told The Prisoner of Azkaban is the best book of the series, so let's see. As always, thanks for listening. Sorry for ranting on a little bit, but hopefully these will get better. I've moved on now to a Kindle book, so I don't think I can do a Kindle book and audio book at the same time. That's my 19th book I've read or listened to. I don't think I can read this next book here and listen to an audiobook at the same time. Is that possible? I mean, you all do it. You all have got 4 books on the go, haven't you? Celeste, the other day, was saying, oh, I'm reading this and this. Oh, brilliant. Well done. So I'm reading Lies of Loch Lamora from the Gentleman Bastard series. I've just started it actually. I'm about 4 chapters in. It's going all right. Quite enjoying it. But I don't think my brain is capable of also listening to an audiobook. I might try, actually after I've read this one, I might try and do two things at once. But I'm also writing my third book, and bearing in mind that's in there as well. I don't think there's room for 3 stories in my head right now, so I'm going to read this. If I'm in the car, maybe I might put an audible book on, the next Harry Potter, and just see how I get on. Well, if not, I'll be reading that. Thanks very much for watching. Good luck. I'll see you soon.